Welcome to Soulfire Wisdom with Kate Olson. As an evolving spirit and change adventure navigator, it is Kate's mission to empower and guide you on your path and inspire your truest passions. She will encourage you to share your gifts, speak your truth, and ignite your inner wisdom and purpose. She hopes to do so with a little humor and grace and her own soulfire passion. Kate talks with amazing guests who have embraced the pursuit and are fanning the flames of their own passion, purpose, and soulfire wisdom. Now here's your host, Kate.
Good afternoon. So, welcome to Soulfire Wisdom and Totally Awesome, Try Something New and Talk About It Tuesday. So what I tried this week was I was on a little trip taking care of some things in Seattle, actually, and I forgot all of my vitamins and green drink and collagen and everything. I left it in a bag on the counter. So I had to try to replace that. And I found these little tablets of amazing greens, actually. And they come in a little tube about this big, and there's a whole week in there, 7 little tablets, or they're not little tablets, they're actually pretty big. And you put that in some water and let it dissolve, and it's like an Alka-Seltzer. It dissolves, and the one that I got was flavored strawberry lemonade, and you just put it in about 8 ounces of water, and it dissolves beautifully. And so I am glad to say that that worked great. And I actually liked it better than the powder that you mix up. So thumbs up for Amazing Greens tablets. So today our topic is supposed to be suicide prevention awareness. And my guest is supposed to be Frank King. But unfortunately, Frank has not shown up yet. I don't know if he's having trouble getting on, and maybe he will show up, or I've tried messaging him and he hasn't responded. So I'm hoping that something hasn't happened, or he's not waylaid by being evacuated again or something. He was evacuated by the wildfires and had just gotten back home. And anyway, we were going to talk to him about that very important topic. And, I'm sorry that he's not here. But I'm going to talk about that topic anyway, as best I can. If anyone is watching live, go ahead and respond, because you might help me out from doing a solo narrative here. I'll try to notice the comments. Anyway, September was Suicide Prevention Awareness Month, and with everything else going on, the coronavirus, the wildfires, politics, it didn't get much mention. But during this time, during the pandemic, there's been an uptick in, mental health issues, depression, anxiety, and suicide as well. So we need to talk about it. So um, we have a comment that it is a very important topic, and that is definitely true. It's important to realize that your friends that are going through depression and anxiety aren't always going to reach out and say, that something's wrong. And you may have said, well, whatever is going on with you, just let me know. But especially with depression, when people are in the depths of that, just, getting up in the morning or functioning at all can be difficult. So it's rare when somebody that's going through that can actually reach out and say, hey, I need some help. And that's why by the time you do hear that someone is having a problem, it's usually at an extreme level, like they are threatening, harming themselves, or really saying things that reflect despair, because that's where they're at. So do take it seriously. And if you have friends that are prone to depression, anxiety, or have been suicidal, have expressed suicidal ideation, reach out and ask them if they're okay. Ask them how they're doing during the pandemic, or if they're having other, issues. Just ask, say, it's hard on everybody now. How are you doing? And then sometimes they will speak up, but realize that it is really hard when you're going through that. You're not thinking that anyone can help you, so it's hard to reach out. Yes, people that have a propensity toward addiction, yes, they do experience a lot of times depression and anxiety, and experience suicidal thoughts, probably more than the general population. And that's Dottie just brought that up because she works with that population of people. So I really wish Frank were here, because he's an expert in this. He does training, and he can give you information from the perspective, because he's gone through it himself. He's experienced the depression, and even had the suicide attempts. And then he decided to work with other people. And because of his background as a writer for The Tonight Show, he went into comedy himself. And I'm sure that this year is giving him a lot of material for future comedy shows, because he's really been in the midst of everything. When the pandemic started, he took off to do shows on a cruise ship that was leaving from China. So he was actually one of the people that was stranded on those cruise ships in the very beginning of the pandemic. And now just recently, he and his wife were evacuated in those wildfires. And I'm sure a lot of those people, especially the people that, lost everything, but even just the people that went through that experience of being evacuated. I'm sure they've experienced a lot of stress, and that can be really hard to deal with, especially when it's stress upon stress. Yes, and that's true of all people that are having mental health issues. And Dottie points out that people have a fear of approaching people that are dealing with addiction. And I know that's true myself because I grew up with an alcoholic father. And I remember people pretending, in the beginning at least, that, nothing was wrong. And fearful that if they do say anything, it'll make the situation worse rather than better. Yeah, and the same is true of people with mental health issues. You're kind of wanting to ignore the elephant in the room, but it's either, there's two fears actually, in that you'll make the situation worse, or you'll bring up something that you don't know how to deal with. But you don't have to necessarily deal with it. Just letting the person know that you're there and being able to help them connect with resources is important, because if you don't know what to do, you can at least connect them with someone who does. And everybody isn't expected to be an expert, but everybody can help by letting people know that you're there and you understand that they're going through something, and that you want to help them. So it's really hard on friends and family members when they do have someone that is either has a history of going through depression or anxiety or suicidal episodes. And then especially so if you've had someone in your family that, or friends, that has actually committed suicide. It's easy to think that you could have and should have done something about it. And after the fact, it isn't something that, it's something that person, a course of action that person chose to take. The only time that we can do anything about it, and it is never our fault, but is beforehand being aware of it and getting that person help. But afterward, when you're thinking, oh, it was my fault, I didn't do what that person needed, that is pretty much, not something that you should feel guilty about. The best thing to do is to talk about it, to keep it, something that shouldn't be hush-hush, that we should discuss. Because the more we know about it, the more we can do about it. Even the person that is suicidal, they oftentimes think that, there's something weird about them and that it's something that can't be resolved. They feel like maybe they're broken and don't function, as well as other people. And that is, they may not be functioning well at that moment, but that it's not something that can't be remedied and that they can't learn to deal with and function. And as when I've had Frank on before, and what he said was he was surprised to learn that he could be happy and function well, but he is happy and he is able to function, and not only that, but able to help other people because he understands the the issues, the problems, the course that that it takes and what it takes to get yourself back on track. So so I wish you were here or that I knew what happened with him. Yeah, I still haven't gotten a response. So he either just forgot it or something happened, and hopefully we can do it at another time. Myself, I haven't experienced that kind of depression, but my son has experienced it, and quite young actually. He was actually suicidal when he was 9 years old, and it's an extreme to go through that as a parent is very difficult, but I'll have to say to go through it as a child, I know is very difficult, but that's a very common age for children to be suicidal. Between 7 and 13 is actually a very common time when children experience that. And it is possible, I'll say, to work through it with your child. And, you can reach out for help. And there are a lot of resources. So, I went through that, and I know how hard it is to hear as a parent that your child is having feelings that are that extreme, no matter what it is that's causing them. With him, it was situations at school, and you don't think your child is, dealing with complex issues, but they really can be. And so it can be a lifelong problem for some people, but dealing with it is something that can be managed. So just don't be afraid to ask questions. Try to find out as much information as you can about the topic so that you can know the signs to look for. Some of those signs are if someone is withdrawing from social contact, seems not to be functioning in their life, is, not meeting the normal daily obligations that they have, maybe sleeping a lot, or not all people. Some people seem to be functioning perfectly well, but they can still be depressed. So it's still good to ask, even if somebody's been through a lot, if they've had a recent loss, or just if you notice a sudden change in their behaviors. So I'm going to keep this rather short because without a guest, it's, I'm not an expert on the topic. I've had clients who were suicidal, and I know personally that just reaching out and being aware and letting them know that you care and giving them resources, tools to deal with the things that they think can't be dealt with, is effective in helping. And I've had, clients tell me that, that usually they don't tell me in the beginning that they're feeling suicidal, and I only find it out later. And then they tell me that, I'm glad you, gave me these tools to work with that, because I was actually feeling this way when I came. And sometimes I'm a little surprised, but other times, if I suspect that they might be having those feelings, I try to give as many tools as I can. And, it works. So don't be afraid to reach out and talk to people and let them know you're concerned. So next week, my guest that I was my guest that I will be having on the show next week is Brett Dupree, and he's also a podcast host. He hosts Joyous Expansion, and I noticed him because he's on my Instagram, and I noticed these posts that I thought, wow, he really believes in a lot of the same things that I do. And so I looked more carefully at his posts, at his profile, and then I listened to his podcast, and I thought, wow, I think I want to have this guy on and find out more about him. So next week, my guest will be Brett Dupree, and he also believes his podcast is very spontaneous. And so I guess this one's a good practice for that. And so I'll be trying to keep up with his spontaneity. And so I think you'll enjoy that podcast. So be sure to tune in next week, which is the 6th. It'll be October 6th at 3 p.m. Pacific time. And I'll be looking forward to it. And I hope you'll join us. So I'm just going to say bye for now. And hopefully I'll find out what happened to Frank.
Thank you for listening to Soul Fire Wisdom with Kate Olson. We hope you enjoyed the show. If we made you laugh, brightened your day, or sparked a new thought, we have succeeded in our mission. Join us next time when we'll share more secrets and truths and all the magic of transformation that is the journey to Soul Fire Wisdom. Always remember, be fierce in the pursuit of what sets your soul on fire.